Today's all about gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss.
Girl was.
Other terms I cannot stand.
Welcome to Let's Pick This Up Next Week. I'm Dee.
And I'm DJ. We're two therapists who like to dive deep into everything from mental health to politics, voting, and whatever else is going on in the world.
We're here to have real conversations about life, the issues that matter, and how it all affects us. Because let's face it, there's always something more to talk about.
Exactly. So grab your coffee, settle in, and join us as we break it all down.
We'll catch you up on the big stuff, the personal stuff, and the things you didn't even know that you needed to think about.
And when we run out of time,
we'll pick this up next week.
So DJ, we almost did our podcast in person today, except I was just not used to, you're on this side of the country.
I know.
We're 10 minutes away from each other.
No, I don't even think it is quite 10 minutes.
Amazing.
Yeah, I have been by your place numerous times already. So it like passed by like late at night.
I was like, wait, you haven't been to my house yet?
I haven't been. No, that's why today I was like, what unit are you in? I'm on my way over. Do you want me to pick up anything at the convenience store? And you're like,
and I don't know. I don't know why I was still thinking of like, oh, well, we're just whatever. Anyway, so viewers listen for future episodes or watch for future episodes. For those who listen, it's not going to sound much different. But those who watch, it will look different when we start to record some in person once we figure out all that stuff. Because yes, DJ has moved, as you can tell if you're watching. There's very conveniently placed a Lowe's moving box right behind you. It's like you planned it.
Yeah, it's all the stuff I want to hang up on my office.
It looks planned. It looks good. Yeah. Yeah. Very planned. Meanwhile, I got a blur because I'm a mess over on this part of the apartment. It's not looking great. So we're just going to blur and just forget about it.
That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. Well, today, DJ, I actually want to put some of the internet's favorite therapy speak on trial.
Let's do it.
Let's have some therapists react to some commonly used therapy terms that have migrated out of the therapy office with their context, with their actual clinical meanings, and have been lost amongst the zeitgeist in common vernacular. So I would love to hear, I've got this lovely list. I would love to hear if you think that the word or the phrase or what have you is misunderstood, if it's like a hard no, please never say that again, or if it's used sometimes in a fair sense. So,
okay.
Misused, sometimes fair, hard no. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Yeah.
Ready. Okay.
Okay.
Gaslighting.
Misused. And I want to say hard no, but there has been times that even within a session I use it, but I try to give like context to like how it has been used incorrectly and how sometimes I think people need to hear it to know that like what is happening to them, whether it might be intentional or not.
Okay, so you try to like go back to like the root of a term, basically, and like here's how it was originally used, and how it can still be helpful for psychoeducation.
Yes, but I do think it's way overused and often inappropriately used. So whatever column that was in, I take it all the way back to the root of the movie. So that's how far I'll go.
This is the important thing. So sidestep to therapy speak. This is like the fascinating thing about, I love the origin of words and like phrases and that kind of stuff. Like I very specifically won't use phrases, even though they are commonly used, because I don't like, for example, the word extraordinary. Fam, you will never catch me saying that word because its literal origin is extraordinary, which was given to describe things that were so super plain. They were extraordinary. And so somehow we now use the word extraordinary. And because we pronounce it slightly different, we're saying it's a good thing. But I'm like, that's not it.
Yeah.
Or like, so many things. When it rains, it pour, all of the things. I can't use many expressions because they don't align with their origin and how we use it today. So it's fascinating that you use gaslight and try to take it back to its original term to give it that meaning again.
And I think it is when I can see that, like, or I think I have a pretty good idea that what we're talking about seems like it was intentional. And if somebody is like, maybe they didn't, and I'm like, well, in this movie, where it came from, like, you can see that sometimes people do it for nefarious reasons and for intentionally. And I think that word is often used when someone may not be using it intentionally. And like that's not what's happening at all. Or the person who is doing the thing, like is doing it accidentally or whatever. And like you're gaslighting me. And like, whoa, whoa, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm a hard no.
Yeah.
Hard no on gaslighting. I don't think people can separate it from, like, I think some things it can be separated, but I think gaslighting was kind of used adjunct to therapy. It wasn't real to me, gaslighting is not a therapeutic term. It didn't start within therapy.
Sure. No, it
So
started
it's
from a
hard to
Hollywood movie. Yeah.
yeah, so it's hard to claim it back into like, oh, but this is what it actually means and let's do like it the word has been co-opted and not
Sure.
for therapy anyways. So I'm a hard
Yeah.
no. I don't like
Yeah.
gaslighting. I also think it's misused a
So much.
lot in an accusatory sense of like you're gaslighting me,
Yes.
and sometimes people are 100%, and that's very important. But other times, like I don't
Right.
know, we it's
You're right.
overused and it's not a therapy
Yes.
term.
It's definitely not a
In that,
therapy term. I agree it's overused. Sometimes I use it just to make points.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right,
Mhm.
we're
Yeah.
here to be controversial opinions, DJ.
That's right, that's right.
All right, next term, narcissist.
Oh, yeah. Again, like, so that is, in the DSM, right?
It
The
is in the DSM.
narcissistic personality disorder
Yep.
is a thing. That is something that's so highly overused. And often everyone, like, I will say, like, oh yeah, everybody's ex on social media is
Everybody's ex is a
they're all
narcissist.
obsessed, right? So it is that, and again, that's something like I know I would say like it is very, very rare that I would classify somebody as a narcissist because when I think of it, I am thinking of narcissistic personality disorder. And the occurrence of that is really a lot lower than everybody's ex being a narcissist.
Yeah, I forget. I mean, the rates are sub 2%, aren't they?
It's one
Something
point
like
something
that.
percent, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, of the entire population.
Right.
That's a lot. So unless you've
Yeah.
dated 100 people, chances are one of your exes may be a narcissist. Like that's
Right. Right.
statistically what's
Yeah.
most likely, unless you have a type. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I personally don't use the term because again, I mean, I use it in the sense of I'll say narcissistic personality disorder. I will
Uh-huh.
say that person has NPD or they have NPD
Right.
like traits. I won't go into, and I also tell people I'm not here to diagnose your ex because that's the most common is like, oh, my ex is a narcissist. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, the Goldwater rule says I cannot diagnose someone I've never met
Right.
with. So
Right.
I don't know if your ex is a narcissist, but let's talk about those traits that are hopefully going to be red flags in the future. But yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So I suppose it's a misunderstood term. I'm not a hard no
Mhm.
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay.
All right, triggered. What do you think about the word triggered?
So interesting, D, because I bet if like even 2 years ago you would have asked me about these terms, like I probably and even maybe 2 years ago were like, oh, I hate all of it. But, like, triggered, I think I've gotten maybe the opposite because I try to get further and further and further away from, like, as a trauma therapist is something that comes up a lot in trauma research, but I think that that term is too overused, and I think that a lot of times it keeps people from healing because, like, they, identify it as, like, "This is my trigger," and I think I've talked about that before, that your trigger means that you should do work, but also I think that, like, there's probably a better word for it.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I think I'm slightly more positive on the word triggered than you are
Really?
potentially. So
Fascinating.
so I mean, as you know, and as our viewers may know, I spent many years working, especially in the addiction field, and
Mhm,
DJ, I know you have as well. So the word trigger was like the big thing. Like we talked
mhm.
about, like what is the the incident that happened? What is the trigger from said
Yeah.
incident? What does that incident make us think? What does it make us feel? What do we want to do? What are the consequences? Right? Like it's so ingrained in CBT. It's so
Mm.
ingrained in addictions counseling.
Yeah.
And like
And
understanding your
trauma.
triggers are people, places, things. I mean, like it is ingrained in that treatment modality, and really treatment, that whole section of the DSM is substance use
Yeah.
disorders. So I think I'm a little bit more positive to it because it's like you
Yeah.
need to identify your triggers. You should have an understanding of what all your triggers are,
Mhm.
in broad strokes, and then roughly what you can do to them. But
Mhm.
there's a huge difference to me between that's a trigger and I'm triggered. Because to be like the triggered, I'm feeling triggered, I think is much more putting it out at someone. You did a
Right.
thing and now I
Right.
feel a
Good point.
way
Yeah.
versus I'm experiencing a trigger based on
Sure.
your behavior or
Exactly. Yeah. The
whatever.
responsibility being there.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you since I've worked in treatment, which has been, I've been doing like outpatient therapy for like 5 years almost. And the longer I even do that, like like the longer you do it, your ideas change. But the way I conceptualize like substance abuse treatment is so, so different than the way I would have conceptualized it right in the beginning of my career, or even like as my own recovery, goes on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that's important of like these things change and who knows, I might watch this podcast back in a year and be like, "Oh my god, how cringe."
But
Cuz
I
that's just what
agree. I agree. I think you have to know where does the responsibility lie,
exactly. And
you
that's
know?
ultimately what it comes down to, in my
Yeah.
opinion, to say I am
Right.
triggered versus I'm experiencing a trigger.
Right.
It's the same thing between like something bad has happened and I'm a bad person. Like you need
Yeah.
to put the onus with you that like you're
Right.
experiencing the thing.
Right.
No one else needs to own the thing but you. So
Right. And pop psychology or social media psychology especially is like loves to put the blame on everybody else.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're kind of, I mean, that's a whole thing about like the accountability and where we've changed things and yes. Anywho, all right. When I was making this list, I was like, oh, I think this one's gonna get Dr. DJ for sure. Maybe.
Okay.
What about the term intrusive thoughts?
I mean, and truth, because I do, so much exposure therapy now,
Mm-hmm.
that like is one of the labels that I really want people to think about when they're trying to, um, look at how their body's feeling. And like when your body's feeling like full of anxiety and full of, like it's like your sympathetic nervous system that really needs to be fixed here. And the easiest way to like, I think, divert yourself back to what is the real work I need to do here first is if you can just label it an intrusive thought, get to it later. So I mean, I use that term because like I want you to keep that label. Like this is an intrusive thought. Come back to what do you need to do in your body? Are you in danger? Then we'll look at what that intrusive thought is in more detail later.
I'm with you. I like intrusive thoughts for both. I've definitely said as like a joking thing of like intrusive thoughts one, I decided to, do this thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I personally I don't feel like it's harmful necessarily.
Hmm.
I think whenever we start, and I'm not gonna say what my next word is for us to go over, but I think when we venture into that category, I
Hmm.
think that's what bugs me about people not understanding intrusive thoughts. But yeah,
Hmm.
when people are like, oh, yeah, because I think intrusive thoughts are exceptionally common. People don't
Yeah.
realize we all have them to some
Yep.
extent.
I mean,
It's
I
not
totally want to write a book that's like, you're not a bad person. Cause I work with a lot of people with morality OCD. So like, you're not a bad person. Everyone has intrusive thoughts. And a lot of times, right, like the example, and I probably brought this up before, is when I lived in my floating home and there was a ramp that went over the Columbia River that I had to go down to get down to the marina and across to my house. And like, if I would carry my dog down the ramp, which I often did because it was great, and so
mm,
he didn't like it.
little
But some
Lennon would
people
fall
like
through.
your feet don't need that much. So, but because there's something in my arm that like I don't want to carry for a long time, you know, that my brain will say, get rid of it. And so, like, I would have an image of tossing him over the
Well,
ramp, right?
yeah.
Into the down below to the Columbia River. I know that I don't wanna do that. So for me, who doesn't obsess on like, "Oh my god, do I am I a bad person because I wanna throw my dog in the river? Like, I must be a horrible person." I just like, I'm not doing that," and move on with it. But that is an idea of an intrusive thought. It's not super intrusive to me because I can let it go, but to somebody else, that could be an intrusive thought because now you're judging yourself. Where, like, I'm just like, I mean, duh, I'm not throwing linen in the water.
Yeah, and I think normalizing it, so, like, the morality OCD, can you give, like, a 2-second psychoeducation on what that is?
So morality OCD is, I think where my theory is, and I think a lot of research supports this, where it comes from is, let's say someone's growing up and they try so hard to be like a good kid, right? And like, I need to be the best kid, the good kid. And then everything they do, they're like, I'll clean the house, I'll do like this. And then a parent comes home and they're like, what the hell? Like, why can't you just be good? You didn't do this. I wanted you to do this and you did that. And like, so a kid is like, well, I thought that was good, right? I thought all these things were good. I cleaned the house. I was like sitting peacefully, watching TV quietly or not even. I was just coloring in a book, like doing the littlest possible to like, and so as a person's learning what is good or bad, I'm doing air quotes, what is good or bad, then they're like, well, my parent must know, right? They must know because I thought that was good, but they're telling me it's not good. So when you grow up and you have a sense of I'm a bad person, a negative core belief of I'm a bad person, but also you don't really know what is good or bad anyway, because you can't trust yourself to think that like something is good because you never learned to be able to develop that like I have a good radar for what is good or bad. And so that's how morality OCD will also how it develops, I think. And then you're constantly like going through, you know, I don't know. How do I know if I'm a good person? Because I had this thought. Also with OCD comes a thought action fusion, which means that if you have a thought, and a lot you see it with morality OCD, if you have a thought and like it must be, again, so you're not labeling it as an intrusive thought. If you have a thought, it must be that like you again are like this bad person because a good person wouldn't have thoughts like that. So that's basically like what morality OCD is. So I don't remember how we got there. Yes. Like
I
I
asked for a
wouldn't be,
2-second
yes, you did.
psychoeducation is
I
how we
know
got there.
I know it was like more than 2 seconds, but OCD and the invisible types of OCD I see are so misunderstood. And when I look every time at like people with generalized anxiety disorder, I'm doing quotes because like chronic anxiety isn't like it doesn't exist just on its own, and I can't find a clear difference between what we call ruminating and what is an invisible type of OCD. Because generally, once you're ruminating about something for so long, it is now an obsessive compulsive cycle. So that's why I can't do it so quickly because it's so one of the things that I think is so missed. I know I missed it on my caseload for a long time before I got trained in like in the more invisible types of OCD, which are the thoughts. So it's hard to do it quickly because it's just not understood enough, I don't think.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
definitely for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of words, you got me thinking about the word ruminate. Do you know where that word comes from?
Where
Or
does
like
it come
where it's most commonly used?
does it come from? I'm gonna say like the thing that I get in mind is like a root animal. Like the animals that like root at the ground, but I'm sure that those two things just sound alike and they're not alike at all.
I don't know about how cows
Mhm.
digest things, actually.
Eh,
Cows have multiple stomachs, and so they'll
right.
chew
You heard
something,
this. Yeah.
eat it, and then when they ruminate, it means it's coming back up and they're
Right.
chewing the cud, is what it is, all over again and digesting it again. So to
Mhm.
ruminate is to literally bring up something that you've digested and then pushing it back
Mhm.
down. So like I do like the word rumination, and I often give that example to my clients when we're talking about rumination because I just think of
Mhm.
like that's what it is. It's something's coming back up
Mhm.
for you that you thought you digested. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And I would say that's about like learning to be able to trust that you digested it and move on.
That's fair. Yes.
Yeah.
Very digestion friendly.
Mhm.
But hey, speaking of morality, OCD, what about when people say, I'm so OCD or that person's OCD when they really just mean that they're maybe
Organized?
organized? Yeah.
Yeah, that one I hate because, like I said, I think it's so misunderstood. Also, I tell everybody that has a diagnosis of OCD that like all traits of OCD aren't inherently bad, right? So like when we say that again, it's the stereotypical view of what OCD is. And then like, I'm so OCD. Just because you're organized doesn't mean you're
Yeah.
OCD. Is it causing you distress? Is it something you can't let go of? And some people with OCD, sorry, it's my whole jam lately. Some people with OCD actually can like still like spend time organizing stuff and it still brings them like coping. So like, yeah, no, I hate that. That's my list of hate.
I hate I'm sure I'm going to hit more before we finish the list. But yes, I equally hate it because I think people have often told me because I'm very type A, I'm very
Hmm.
organized, things are a certain way, they are lined up a certain way.
Right.
And many people have said, "Oh, that's OCD."
Hmm.
And it's not, and
Hmm.
I can absolutely say it's not OCD because OCD is obsessions and
Hmm.
compulsions, right? And so those two things work in tandem. Now, there is some beginning research on what's called pure O or like obsession only OCD, which I don't know enough about to speak eloquently to be able to explain it in this
Yeah.
context.
I mean, I did a training with the Puros. I mean, I would argue that I could point to where there could be the obsession and the compulsion in that, but the key part that we have to remember is it has to be distressing.
Yes.
If it's not
Yes.
distressing to you, if you have the obsession, I need to organize this thing, the compulsion, or the
Is to do
obsession,
it.
like if this thing's not organized, I have to organize it. I have to organize it, like whatever. The compulsion is to like, I have to do this, 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 this to call it organized. But once you do it, it feels beneficial. You can let it go and move on. Then it doesn't really meet the criteria.
Exactly.
It has to have, the part in it that, like, it still feels distressing. Even after you have the idea, "This doesn't look right. This should" it needs to look different for it to be, like, organized. To organize, I have to do this. You do that, and then you're like, "Is it right? Do I need to do it again?" And then
Yeah.
do it, and "Is it right? Do I need to do it again?" And then
Yep.
no matter what you do, it doesn't ever get better. That's different.
Yeah, it's the myth in OCD that like acting out that compulsion will reduce the anxiety, reduce
It
the
doesn't makes it
discomfort. It
worse.
doesn't. And OCD is also consistent across contexts. Like
Right. Yes.
and it's not always looking organized. Many people have OCD
Right.
and they aren't organized, right? That's
Right.
another myth.
Yeah.
But yeah, it grinds my gears because specifically I've had coworkers borrow my office, which I hate because I don't like germs and
Mm,
people are
mm,
gross. And
yeah.
it's just whatever. I get through my day. I just get through it with Lysol wipes. It's fine.
Right. If
But
that reduces if you're like,
yes, it
wipe,
does.
wipe, I can move on, right?
Yes,
Not a problem.
but people will specifically tell me, "I moved something in your office. Can you tell me what it was?" And I'm like,
Right.
"No, you
No,
freak.
I don't
I'm
care.
more annoyed that, like,
Right.
you're a child. Like,
Right.
this has
Yeah.
nothing to do with, like I'm not annoyed
Right.
because a thing is moved. I'm annoyed because you're a child. But
Mhm.
whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you about the
I'm
exposure
a
I did?
hoot. I'm a very fun person."
I mean, you are a very fun person. I've known you for some time, but yes, but people, I could see where people would say that about like you and your space. But again, like if you are like, I can Lysol wipe and move on, that's not
Yeah.
problematic. It's the same thing with like, I touched this gross thing. I need to put hand sanitizer on it. If you're like, I need to put hand sanitizer on, and then 2 seconds later, you're like, oh, I need
It's
to
like,
put
"Oh, I
hand
didn't do it good
sanitizer.
enough. I missed a
I
spot. I
need
had to do it
to,
again."
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
Yes.
that's problematic.
Exactly. Yeah. I will
Yeah.
put my hand sanitizer on after I touch the gas pump because duh.
I mean, I do.
But
When I
yeah,
come into my car from to me, it makes good sense. If I come in to my car, I keep it in the door of my car. If I come in from a store, from whatever,
just
hand sanitize it
let it
doesn't take
dry. Yeah.
nothing. I'm not like I need to pull over and did I hand sanitize it good? And like I have to do it
Yeah.
again. I have to do it one time and move on.
I had a past significant other who had OCD, but it also very much, this is a whole different story. This is so aside. I
Mhm.
will just say, I couldn't tell if it was OCD or if he was cheating on me
Mm.
because it was cleanliness type. So he would literally like in the morning would take a lint roller to the whole bed. And I'm like, are you just trying to make it so like, when the next girl comes here, she's not seeing my hair? Like, what are you doing? But anyhow,
Yeah.
but like it ruins the day. It's an inordinate amount of time.
Right.
Another
Yes.
very commonly misused term in my mind is also bipolar, and borderline. I hear borderline.
They're used wrong?
Borderline's not even on my list of stuff to talk about, but
Mhm.
yes, like
Yeah.
I
I
hate to be
mean,
like, oh,
the
that
the
person's so
amount of people
borderline.
with you're right. I mean, it is, like, people think that someone who has emotional dysregulation or whose moods, like, they were, like, fine and then they're pissed and then they were fine again, like, think that that's borderline or excuse me, bipolar. In my opinion, like, bipolar is one of the most overdiagnosed out there where you're like, "Where's the mania?" Or they'll just be like, "Oh, then it's hypomania." I'm like, "Well, where's the where's the hypomania?" Because
Yeah.
you're
When
just
did it
saying that there's
occur?
mood
Yeah.
dysregulation, and you've diagnosed this person now with a bipolar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or a bipolar and
And
ADHD.
the thing that people don't understand, especially about bipolar, it's not an up and down a million times a day, right? That is a rarity in the bipolar world,
Right.
truly. That's just
Yeah.
emotional dysregulation. Whether or not
Exactly.
it meets diagnostic levels is a whole different conversation. But
Right.
bipolar is made up of there's 4 different types of episodes that can occur within bipolar. Mania, which is like what we tend to think of like this person may need acute hospitalization. They don't need any sleep usually. They're excessively
Right.
goal driven to a damaging way. It's not,
Right.
"Oh my god, I stayed up for 2 nights because I had to cram for
Mhm.
my finals," or whatever. Like, that's not it.
Or ADHD hyperfocus.
Yes, yeah. Yes, and then hypomania is baby mania, hypo meaning less than hyper.
Right.
So it's still mania, but less so. It's usually shorter duration. Or I'm sorry, it's
Mhm.
actually more longer duration, but shorter intensity.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes, and then there's, oh my god, it's not the depressive episode. Dysthymia?
This
No,
time,
that's a
yeah.
whole different.
Wait, no,
No,
that one.
cyclothymia.
Yeah,
That's it.
cyclothymine.
That
It
still
sounds
doesn't
like a
feel
it
right.
sounds like a
Right. But it's like baby depression, which is like still depressive symptoms, right? And then there's like depression, right? And we tend to see the depressive episodes last longer than the manic episodes.
right.
Anyway, but there's distinct, you
Yeah.
typically only cycle through it a few times within a year. It's not like
Mhm.
Monday to Tuesday.
Right.
That's different.
They'll be like, "That's rapid cycling." Yeah.
Yeah, rapid cycle.
Your eye
It's like
roll.
it's snowing and also a tsunami in one day. Like, that's not
Yeah.
how it works. Bipolar is a very real experience. Bipolar disorder is a very real experience. So it does grind my gears when people use that
Right, and
one.
a lot of times if you ask somebody who is a bipolar, then they're gonna say that they did something that was out of character or that they wouldn't expect of themselves. Now, if someone's constantly emotionally dysregulated, they might still say it's out of character, but you'd be like, no. It's not actually you do this all the time. It's not out of like
I
mania is gonna feel like it's not they're not maybe using their sense of values or
mhm.
yeah.
I feel like we're, like, using the wrong term, which bugs the
Well, which
absolute
one? For
crap out of me.
cyclothymia or what?
Yes.
Are you
Mm,
for the depression, the kind that was because I know that, but
yeah. Well, cyclothymia is a God, I feel like I should know this. Cyclothymia is a type of bipolar
yeah,
when you move through the various episodes at a
right,
certain pace. It's like
right.
it may not be as intense, right? Because
Mhm,
bipolar 1 means a person has had at least one manic episode in their life. A person with bipolar 1 may have never even experienced a depressive episode, which is so weird to
mhm,
me. It's called bipolar, so you'd think
right, yeah.
both
Yeah,
ends, but
you would think
actually,
it would just be like manic disorder or something.
yeah, or like a unipolar, whatever.
Right,
But a person with bipolar 2 has had a hypomanic episode, at least one hypomanic episode in their lifetime, and at least one depressive episode within their
mhm,
lifetime. And that hypomanic episode could have been 20 years ago.
mhm.
If it happens one time, it's no longer depression, it
So,
becomes bipolar.
yeah, isn't it I mean, it is that too, like, it is something that, like before I speak on it to be like, oh, I hate it because I think it's so. I mean, I've done so much research about it. I think the criteria is so different than how we diagnose other things
Yeah.
that, like, to say, like, because you had like one manic episode in your whole life you could be bipolar. It doesn't. I mean, I can see why it gets over diagnosed, but like, wow, like one time in your whole life.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
often people don't have great historical references
Right.
of what they were like
Yeah.
at certain points in their life. We
Right.
see yesterday's version of us through today's lens, you know?
Exactly.
One last thing on the bipolar borderline thing. BPD is borderline personality disorder. It is
Right.
not bipolar disorder. So
Right.
when I hate when I see people online saying like BPD, bipolar, and it's like, it's not.
No.
Bipolar is
Right.
bipolar.
Mhm.
BPD is borderline personality
Borderline
disorder.
personality disorder.
We
Yeah.
should do a whole episode on BPD later.
Yeah,
But
we can. I mean, and my view of personality disorders and the way that I contextualize them and conceptualize them is a lot different than it used to be because I really am looking at like cause, effect, behaviors, and like I'm like, we call it personality disorders and we can label it this. I'm like, we can call it spaghetti for all I care. What we really need to understand is like, is a lot of it comes from trauma. And I think that personality disorders are so villainized that I'm really moving away from like trying to label those anyway.
yeah, I feel like I'll save my soapboxes on PDs and especially BPD for
So
another
let's
episode. We'll pick that
do a
up.
whole episode about
Let's
personality
do it.
disorders. Yeah.
All right, lightning round. No explanation.
Oh,
Is it no explanation? It's gonna be hard.
I know.
So it's hard no, never say it. Is it misunderstood or is it A-okay? No explanation. Toxic. The therapy term toxic. Lightning.
Mhm. Mhm. I know. I can't.
I'm gonna cut out so much of
What was
this
the second
pause.
one? Misuse.
Sometimes
Let's say.
okay. Misused.
Oh, I can say sometimes okay.
Sure. God,
Okay.
I should not have given you a depends option, but sure.
I'm gonna have to say sometimes okay.
No explanation. Great. Yeah.
I
So it's
know. I
sometimes
hate it.
okay. Codependent.
Sometimes okay.
I'm going to say no, hard no to codependent, but okay to codependency.
Mm.
And that's all. I already broke my own rule of no explanation. Okay. Disassociating.
I'm sure sometimes okay.
Yeah, I'm good with
Are we
disassociating.
talking? I mean, it's so hard
I-
because, like, if we're only talking and like social media psychology, all my answer to these would be no.
No. Okay. Trauma dumping. Trauma dumping. Hard no, sometimes okay. Works
Sometimes
perfectly.
okay.
Sometimes. No. Trauma dumping. Hard no. In my book.
I
No explanation.
No, it's so hard. I have so many examples for everything.
Well, yeah, but I think that's the kind of the point of the episode and why we wanted to do it is talking about how like
Mm-hmm.
precision matters. Like
Mm-hmm.
our lexicon words are like the only thing we really have to describe our experience, right? And I describe words loosely, right, to be inclusive, but like that's it. That's all we have. So
Yeah,
it matters what words we choose to use, how we use them, when we use them. And so all I've asked of people is to please utilize terms that are appropriate, that are not disparaging of people.
for
It's
sure.
it's not.
And context matters is what, like, I think,
Yes,
like,
yeah,
for me, for if like someone's only understanding is that way, and I'm not going to explaining,
sure.
but if someone's understanding is only that way, then I might be like, okay, but like this is what it's supposed to mean, even in like pop psychology, or social media psychology, and what people use it for, and the things don't often line up. Like, and if you need to know what trauma dumping is for your context, you know, then
Then take
make
it
it
to Dr. DJ as a therapist and not to me as a therapist, because we'll have a different conversation.
yes. And that's what I
Well,
love about our field too, is that we all have different perspectives.
yes, we are certainly not a one-dimensional field. Every counselor is different. That's why it's so important. If you're thinking about therapy, this is not sponsored by anybody, but if you're thinking about therapy, to find a therapy match, because it is really important, and it's okay to break up with a therapist if it's just not a good match. And some of the best therapists I know, and depends on if they're in private practice under a group practice or whatever, or like there's a million reasons why not everyone does it. But a lot of folks I know actually don't charge for their first session. It's truly just like a get to know you session. These are people who aren't usually relying on insurance billing, but it's, a conversation to see, is it a vibe? Is it a match? Because if you don't vibe with your therapist, like, what are we doing?
It's
Time
way
in
more
therapy doesn't
it's
measure
way
change.
right, and I think it's also important that in that consultation session, unless it's outside of your scope, the therapist shouldn't be the
Yes.
one who's like, "Is this a match? Do I wanna work with this person? Do we vibe?"
Yes.
Like, that's not really how it's but the person who is going to be seeking out therapy should very much be like, "Is this someone who works for me?"
Exactly. So yeah, pick your therapist wisely, and if it's not working, don't be afraid to say like, "Hey, like it's not working," or "I'd like to take a break from our work together," or whatever nicety you want, and that's okay. And any good therapist understands that they're not a good therapist for everybody.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Love it.
Well, that being said, thank you all for watching or listening to us. We would highly, highly encourage and love it if you shared our podcast. Leave us a comment. Let us know, like, what is your therapy bugaboo? What's a term that you want to hear us battle over or that you have strong opinions on? We'd love to hear from you. And we will catch you next time on Let's Pick This Up next week. See you guys.
See ya.